higher the vibration. The higher the vibration, the more peace and harmony there is. Schumann's resonance is always highest in areas where there is peace and harmony, always lowest in areas where there is high conflict. So we can see that if we look at those pieces of evidence, plus the astrology, plus all the psychic information that we have, that the channelings, that the awakening of humanity, we're not choosing war. That timeline will start to drop off by the end of April. We will start to see it. There's already evidence. If you're really in tune, you can see the evidence. Nonetheless, it will by after the 6/6 portal, that timeline reality will start to just drop out. It'll start to become a thing of the past. This is good news for humanity. All of this is very good for humanity. Now, why is this important for us as individuals, of course, is that we get to choose as our own gatekeepers of our reality, because we all live in what's called the holographic reality. We all live in our own source creator dream reality that is based entirely on what we see, perceive, witness, agree to, allow, accept, consent to, where we vibrate energetically. We're all in this reality of our own making, and then we interact with other people's reality. So this is why everybody wants to up level their vibration, raise your vibration. Of course you want to raise your vibration, because as your vibration raises, you start having more enjoyable, benevolent experiences that are based in this new paradigm or timeline reality that collectives are choosing to ascend, which means to unify with our Christed avatar selves or future versions of ourselves, which includes, from a linear perspective, includes benevolent star families. We could call them extraterrestrials, but that's not usually, the benevolence usually refer to themselves as star families, right? Because we, in a sense, evolve into them, and at the same time, they're sharing their greatest gifts with us, where they and we both transcend time and space, right? So that's part of the ascension journey. And in order to have those kinds of experiences, we must up-level our vibration and shift out of this old paradigm and into the new paradigm. Okay, I'm talking really fast to get a lot in, but I just want to have, just from the chat, I'm going to go look at it really fast. If anyone wants to just give me is this making sense? Are you guys with me? Because I want to cover as much as I can. But is this helpful to you guys? Right? Okay. Takes sometimes a couple of people to type in a little message, but John, thank you for your yes. Edward, thank you for your yes. Okay, good. Then I know you're with me. Otherwise, if I've lost you, that's okay. Thank you so much for your feedback. Awesome. Okay, great. So now let's talk about this on a personal level, because we on Earth tend to believe and perceive that we have no power over something that's going on out there. So we think we have no power over the war, or we think we have no power over the corrupted government officials, or we have no power. We've realized that our vote, at least in the United States, is completely corrupted, right? We tend to take on this belief system that there's nothing we can do, and we tend to feel powerless. And right now, especially the astrology on planet Earth, the planets are, in a sense, forcing us. And planets are God's checkers board. It's God's chessboard to move the pieces around, right? The planets are conscious themselves. They're responding to humanity's consciousness. And at the same time, that's an area where Source can intervene and say, oh, let's move this planet here. Let's move this planet here. Let's lovingly coerce them to look at their issues. So right now, the planets are saying, there's going to be this sense of feeling disempowered, power struggle dynamic, so humans can reclaim their power. We tend to feel disempowered, that we have no control to make change for the better. And yet we have the ultimate power once we start to realize our role as creators and our alignment with our multidimensional aspects and our Christed avatar self, our divinity, and even our future versions of us in that sense of linear time, who are the star family races, who are helping us to awaken this. And obviously we have many benevolence on many layers, multidimensional reality layers, angels and ascended masters, et cetera, who help us. At a certain point, we have to claim equality and union with them because they're not beyond us, but nonetheless, we have to claim our right to make change, our ability to make change. And how does a light worker do that? A star seed, an ascended being, or an awakening being, or an enlightened being that we all are striving to, I assume, in this community. The way we make change is through energy and consciousness. So we understand that we can change the energy, for example, of war, by embodying the energy of harmony. And yes, peace, but really it's even more than peace, it's harmony, the ability to get along. We understand that when we learn to embody that energy and fill our energetic space and then share it with the collective of humanity energetically, the energy of harmony in this example, that we are actually assisting and supporting that energy to anchor into the physical world, that we do share physical space, even though we're all each in our own holographic reality. So we anchor in the energy that is needed and or required, and then we share that energy with the collective. This is how light workers make change in just incredible ways. Why? Because we are able to work on higher planes of consciousness where we know that we are more empowered from that space. We no longer have a struggle or a resistance by trying to change things at the effect, right? So what we do in the physical world, which we call the third dimensional paradigm, right? The, space, including time, distance, and light, colors, and sound. That's the physical third dimensional reality. What we do there is we believe we have to do things like petition and riot and vote and all kinds of things. I'm not saying those are not good things to do. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that our greater power, especially for those of us awakening to this, is to access the information, energy, and consciousness from the non-physical, bring it in through our bodies and beings and expand it out and become aware that as we are the witnesses to our reality and we are the co-creators, we utilize the consciousness of energy to place and integrate energy and anchor it at where it's needed and appropriate energy. So this is the first thing. We must learn how to do this. And we do this through consciously participating in active light worker circles and communities where we're doing this, healing circles, meditation circles, etc. Also DNA activations, huge part of it. The other thing that we start to do, and this is where I'm going to get into the revocations. Let me just look at what I wrote out for our thing. Yeah, so let's go into the revocations. Very, very important that most people do not understand their power because they don't understand that the intelligence of the universe is not only governed in this universe, not all universes, that's when we get into omniverse, but in our universe, we are governed by universal law. And those universal laws, one of which is the law of intent, consent, and authority. Very important to understand this law. It's also the law of free will. So when we say something to the universe in an intelligent way, not from a place of disempowered, I'm just a stupid human or I'm a mere human, but from an empowered place, knowing that we are connecting with our I am presence, our divinity, our avatar self, our multidimensional aspects, that is way beyond just the third dimensional paradigm of physicality. And we start saying, I permanently revoke any consent, any and all consent, any and all agreement, any and all contracts, covenants, promises, commitments that I ever made, ever, in any time, space, reality, through all dimensions, all lifetimes, parallel existences. I permanently revoke consent for war. Period. Hear me now. Mighty I am presence, infinite intelligence of the universe. I permanently revoke consent for that. Now, already, whoa, We as a group just shifted energy because a lot of people just agreed with that. And we there. Now, once we do that, the universe and 10 consent and authority starts taking notice. You can do this in your world. You just can't do it over another person, right? You can't claim influence over another person because that would be out of alignment with integrity. But you can do that for your world. These revocations are very powerful. You can also do revocations for, like one that I do a lot is I permanently revoke consent for any and all false leaders, false authorities to exist. I'll command the universal laws and the divine intelligence to hear me, that it is against my free will to have leaders and authorities who are deliberately causing harm and or detriment to humanity. Now, just that. Here's where these revocations come into challenge. And there's almost no limit to how we can use them other than never over another individual. We cannot do that. We can influence our collective because we are part of the collective. But where you come into challenge is if you're in a struggle. So if you're in a struggle, and the struggle is always some kind of emotional entanglement or some kind of experience of polarity. What's polarity? I mean, we could spend an hour talking about that, but polarity is always going to be right, wrong, arrogance, superiority, inferiority. I'm better than you. I'm not good enough. I'm just not good enough. Self-righteousness, judgment, guilt. I don't know if I should do that. Shame. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm shamed. I'm hiding in the spiritual closet. Spiritual bypassing. I don't want to look at that. That's not positive enough for me. That's a form of polarity. You just want to be all positives? Well, now you're in the game of polarity. So these things remove your power and relegate you, in a sense, to lower frequency energies because you're now in the struggle or the dance of polarity. So in order for the revocations to work their best, you have to know how to come into a state of divine neutrality and balance. Divine neutrality never means that you don't care. It means that you can no longer be polarized, and from your state of divine neutrality, where you're aligning with your divinity, you have your greatest power because now you're aligned with this infinite, omnipresent, omnipotent awareness that is infinitely loving, infinitely caring. That is who you are. That is the essence of who we all are. We are infinitely aware, ultimately, even though our personal self may only see smaller pictures or versions. Our mighty I am presence is infinitely aware. And, if we want to talk about a stair step of consciousness, our mighty I am presence is way beyond even our higher self in stair stepping of consciousness, because our mighty I am presence is so unified with the divine and its infinite source, energy, consciousness, love, wisdom, awareness, the whole thing. So this is part of what we're attempting to do, but we must know how to get into this divine neutrality, which is always in the core of our being, our center of our heart center, where we find that neutrality. When we learn how to get into the magnetic center of the heart to stabilize our energy field, again, always through breath, meditation, nature, all the healing practices that we do, all the healing energies. And then from that place, we can begin to work with these universal laws, including doing revocations. By the way, revocations also work in the reverse. So you can do commands. And commands, the same thing, but it can only, in the new paradigm, be sustainable if it's for the most benevolent best. That's the new paradigm kind of anchoring rule, in a sense. It's not really a rule, but it's what up levels you there. For the most benevolent best of all, ideally with harm to none. And we can't control all of that. We understand, like, the COVID experience is a great example of, and the war is a great example. People sometimes do get harmed, but we don't always know all their soul's journey, contracts, agreements, etc., what they're here to do and accomplish or to teach or to help us realize or awaken. So we can't get in their shoes because we're not in their brain or their soul's contracts or their karmic records or their Akashic records. but we can ideally with harm to none, right? So going back to the revocations, you can do the same thing. Just get into that center core of your being and get into a neutral state through breath meditation and start commanding. I command for the most benevolent best of all to be restored on earth. I command for integrity to be restored through all of our systems and structures. Now, that's an example. It's kind of global, but you can do these commands as long as you're not directly trying to affect an individual, okay, outside of yourself. So these are ways we reclaim our power and how we help make this shift, and how we also up level to a timeline of our choice, because the timeline of our choice, ultimately, if you're choosing life, if you want to improve the quality of your life, the quality of life for others on earth, and if you want to continue to live in a physical form, then the choice must be to align with the most benevolent best for yourself and all beings, because that is the trajectory of ascension. And you might not know what's for your most benevolent best at any moment, but your mighty avatar divine self does. And just by saying, I respectfully request to be aligned with my most benevolent best trajectory. And you can also always add in with grace, with benevolence, with ease, with gentleness, with kindness, with love, with joy, with enjoyment, in positive ways that are beneficial to me, to my body, to my life, to my living. So you want to be aligning yourself with that. And that is really what's going to help you along the way in shifting and up-leveling your vibration anyway. You're using the power of your consciousness to choose the ascending timeline. Okay, I hope this is making sense. How's everyone doing? I'm checking in. I'm good. I still have time, but wow, I covered a lot so far. When you say, someone's asking, Mike, why is our energy required to change other people's reality? Isn't it better to just withdraw our attention from it?
You're doing great, by the way.
Oh, good, thanks. Well, this is what I'm here for, right? It's my purpose on earth. So then that reality no longer exists. Mike, yes, you are absolutely right. When I say right and wrong, yes, by withdrawing our energy from something that is non-desirable to us, that is absolutely. So for example, I never watch the news. I don't watch mainstream TV. I don't listen to the radio. I don't watch commercials. I simply don't. And if I'm ever exposed to it, I'm very good at carrying these around when I go out. I like literally, it's not that I'm in resistance or judgment. It's that I'm in conscious choice. So I withdraw my energy. But that doesn't make me clueless to the fact that it is going on. So for example, the war does, I have awareness, and I'm not going to deny my awareness, because to deny my awareness would be to reduce my vibration, to put myself in a state of denial. Carpet sweeping, law of attraction, all positives, puts me back in polarity. So I have an awareness that there are things going on. And because I'm a light worker, and I'm talking to light workers now, if you're making a choice to be a positive contribution to the planet, which I am, that's my community, and those are the people I assume mostly are here, then I know I can use my energy to stabilize an area or something in the world that's destabilized. And I know as a star seed, because I am a star seed, which means that I literally have star family race DNA that was awakened in me through a first contact experience. So star seeds are, this might sound, if you can come at this from non-judgment, but star seeds are here on divine mission to assist humanity in finding our right alignment. So this is like a divine mission and purpose. And so for me, being aware is a requirement. And for light workers who want to make conscious contribution to the planet, to assist, because humans have lost their way in a way. They don't know about energy. They don't know how to, they don't necessarily know how to use, revocations or commandments. I command, that's commandments. They don't understand they've been sort of trapped in this false third dimensional paradigm, which has been, for better or worse, has been controlled, dominated, and manipulated by these false authorities who are responding to the directions that they're getting in this hierarchical system, this patriarchal oligarchical system that is basically, I will profit at the expense and harm of others. So that system is wired into slavery, victim, victimizer, control, domination, manipulation, secrecy, coercion. It's not a conspiracy, it's the system. And that system was set up by versions of us in the past, we could say, because ultimately we are all one. We could know them as archontics, we could know them as Nibiruans, we could know them as negative aliens, we could know them as reptilians. It doesn't matter how we label them. And they are basically, those systems are running so deeply, they control, our economy, our schooling systems, our medical and healthcare systems, and of course, just basically everything, all the ground working. So we're trying to shift that because those systems are imploding on themselves and they're no longer supporting or sustaining life, right? They are benefiting so extremely to the harm and detriment of the masses. And the masses are not aware of this for the most part. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. Why, yes, I completely agree. We withdraw our attention from it. And yet, as multidimensional beings who are awakening to our divinity to serve, support, and assist humanity, if you align with that, then you want to maintain your awareness so that you can contribute for the betterment of all beings on Earth. I hope that's helpful. Okay, so I got like about 3 more minutes before I'll break out into the question and answer area. And I'll be able to support you guys more over there with questions and support for you. But let's just go really quickly to I did the contracts. I just want to mention the sovereignty part in the 4 minutes I have in the DNA, if I can squeeze that into, which is crazy to try to squeeze so much in so little time. But very important to remember, first of all, all of this is coded in our DNA. The greatest gifts that we have are dormant, which is why the last few years, even actually going back further than the last couple of years, there have been massive collection efforts to catch the DNA and to collect DNA, because our human DNA has all of the solutions to humanity's problems. And so when we start to activate and awaken our dormant DNA, we not only have the solutions to help humanity. For example, when I started working with my own DNA, that's when I found codes of immunity and imperviousness to any and all viruses, codes of immunity and imperviousness to any and all cell phone towers, EMF technologies, radiation, shedding. Like, there's codes of immunity and imperviousness, but it's vibrational, has to be activated through vibrational attunement. So now I do that for humans all the time. I do DNA activations, and there's so many gifts in there. You also have the gifts and solutions to your own personal issues, whether it's money, relationship, health, well-being, your own happiness and joy, your own divine missions and purposes. That's how I discovered mine, through my DNA with my star family. So anyway, one of the most important things we also can do is to be activating our DNA. And that's stuff that's not hard to do, but you do have to be in vibrational proximity with someone who's already holding frequencies that are beyond your own at your current trajectory, until you learn how to do it for yourself, which doesn't take that long, but is important to do. Okay, so the only thing I didn't really get to too much is I didn't get to a ton of the superhuman ability. There's so much more, but I realize my time's just about up here. So what I would love to say.
You're an angel. So we're going to bring on Sean David Morton.
Well, can I know I'm out of time, I get it, but can I just say, please join me in the group afterwards, in the private breakout group. And please I'll put in my website for anyone who wants to stay in touch. Okay. So they have it. And there's tons of free gifts there too. I'll give them, so that if they want to activate their DNA, they can practice and sample at LoriSpagna.com, free gifts /DNA. I do a lot with, I'll put in the free gifts there too for
And,
people.
and Lori will be in room
Thanks.
number 8. So we're going to shift Lori to room number 8.
Thanks, you guys.